Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are saying goodbye to the Tier 4 German destroyer, the V-170. And I know I haven't really been talking about the German destroyers, well, because they're not that great. I really haven't touched them in quite a while. They are probably my least favorite ships in the game, at least so far. Now, granted, I've only been at the V-170 and the T-22, but I might as well work up that branch. I'm going to try them out, see how they work. So the V-170, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. Survivability, you have 10,300, which is pretty tanky for Tier 4. You have 4 main guns, 105 millimeters each. They traverse fairly quickly. Granted, my captain's not fully upgraded. The guns do traverse not too bad. Reload time is 4 seconds. Turn times is 18 seconds. And of course, if you get the captain skill, they turn a little bit quicker. Max dispersion is 83 meters. Max HE damage is 1,200 with a 5.5% fire chance. Max AP shells will do 2,300, so definitely a lot better. Firing range is 9 kilometers. AP and HE shell velocity is 715 meters per second. And like I said, you have a 9-kilometer range, which isn't too bad. But probably the one cool gimmick about the Tier 2, 3, and 4 German destroyers are the torpedoes. You have 2 500 millimeters that are single launchers. They are located in the front of the ship, which means you can actually fire them while going straight forward. Very well known. Probably the more favorite thing about these German destroyers is the fact that you can do this. And then you have 2 dual launchers, 500 meters. They have a reload time of 42 seconds. Turn time is 7.2 seconds. And range is 7 kilometers with a max damage of 10,600. So these are just like your normal launchers in the rear. And once again, I remember when they first came out, I saw these. I was like, wait, how does that make sense? They couldn't fire in a straight line. They fire in a straight line. So it's not overly bad. Speed on the torpedoes is at 54 knots. Not very impressive, but it's a Tier 4, so I mean, what do you expect from that? AA defense, you only have 2 single 20 millimeters. They are located here in the rear of the ship. Not exactly the strongest in the AA capabilities. Max speed is 35.5 knots with a turning circle radius of 500 meters and a rudder shift time of 2.7 seconds. And that rudder shift time is going to be very beneficial if you are just planning on keeping either the Tier 4 or the lower tiers of the German destroyers just for the fun of it, because it allows you to turn very quickly, change which direction you're going, so you can get those front 2 torpedoes off in fairly rapid succession. So in the replay, you'll see what I'm talking about. Concealment could be a little bit lower. Once again, this captain is just kind of a spare captain I had. Detectability range by sea is 6.3 kilometers. Range by air is 2.9 kilometers. So it's not bad. You can definitely get a little lower, especially if you plan on keeping these low tier German destroyers. So not too bad. She's fully upgraded. I didn't go for the modifications, haven't changed them, and probably should just point out that the smokes are very short duration, 53 seconds, active for 20 seconds, so it's not too bad for the activation period, but very short duration on how long you can sit and smoke, and that's going to be very common for German destroyers. As far as what I would recommend, at least to a tier 12 point captain, I'm saying 12 because the second tier you actually have to get 2 skills. One I would highly recommend, which is Last Stand. For the first one, you could either get Preventive Maintenance or Priority Target. Both are very well worth it. Obviously, Priority allows you to know who's aiming at you, and this reduces the reduction on ship module becoming incapacitated. Expert Marksman is beneficial. It's nice. It allows your guns to traverse a little bit better. As for the next tier, I would almost say either Superintendent, but if you really want to be ballsy, go for torpedo armament expertise, especially if you are planning on the future, which I generally do whenever I go up through these trees. I keep the same captain. And so torpedo armament, this reduces the reload time by 10%. And the German destroyers are kind of a torpedo boat, because they kind of suck as gunboats, and they kind of suck as torpedo boats as well, but they kind of play a little bit better as torpedo boats because you can actually fire your torpedoes off while not being detected. Then obviously concealment expert is highly recommended. But we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to the V-170. Honestly, it's not a terrible ship. These low tier German destroyers are fun because you can be very aggressive. You can have fun, especially with just rushing a battleship with your torpedoes. So not bad. We'll just see how the later tiers go. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the replay. I will see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to a replay with the V-170. Now this replay was not originally going to be the replay I was wanting to show you guys. I actually had a little bit better replay, but unfortunately for me, the updates that came out, that was the, I believe the 6.2.1 or 0.2, something like that, basically broke that replay, so I'm not able to actually show it off. But we're gonna go ahead and show off this replay, which wasn't terribly bad. It was fairly decent. So we are playing on straight. We have a Bogue, Langley, New York, Koenig, Congo, Wyoming, Phoenix, Nicholas, Minakaze, a Hotnik, Clemson, and a V-170. On the enemy team, there is a Bogue, Hosho, New York, Texas, Koenig, Kaiser, Dane, Kuma, 2 Nicholases, T-22, and a Isakaze. Now, at the very beginning, we do have a friendly battleship kind of being concerned that all 3 destroyers are moving off. But we're not moving off too far. We do have the Hotnik, which is that premium tier, is it tier 6? Tier 5? Tier 5 Russian destroyer, which I probably should know because I actually really do enjoy the Hotnik. It's a actual really nice ship. But anyway, back to the V-170. The torpedoes on this on the ship are not bad. They have a range of about 7 kilometers and fired off 2 torpedoes towards the enemy Kuma, but I thought his plane actually spotted them, but we'll see how it goes. He is pushing in. He's pushing in quite heavily, which is rather surprising, especially, well, there's only a enemy destroyer. There are a couple battleships in the back, but they're not much of a threat at the moment. But a enemy Nicholas does appear, and that kind of does freak me out, so I quickly turn away. But fortunately, he doesn't start opening up till about right now, and we actually do land a torpedo hit on the enemy Kuma, which is actually very, very nice. Now we're behind this island, and we don't have to worry about the Nicholas for the moment. His guns are not able to get over the island at the moment. Now I'm lining myself up on this enemy Kuma. Let me actually quickly take control of the camera. Dropping off torpedoes. We'll see if we can land a good hit. Now the guns on the V-170 are not bad. They still have a very, very lazy trick to them as far as able to, but we get a kill due to the fire that we did land on that Kuma and just knocked off the last bit of health. Now we are spotted, and that's the main problem with German destroyers, is that they have a very, very high detection. So whenever you fire your guns, and we land a torpedo on the Nicholas, so that has dropped his health down just a little bit. So whenever you fire your guns, you can see the detection circle does bloom out quite massive. It goes further than our guns do. And that's the major issue with the German destroyers, and that was one of the main things that the people at Wargaming decided it would be a great idea to change it right before they released the German destroyers, because prior to that, German destroyers weren't too bad. They were actually kind of something new and exciting, different aspect of it. So finally have our engines repaired, which meant that we were actually starting to slide out of the smoke. And we know that the Nicholas is still in the smoke. He's currently firing, so I'm trying to line up my torpedoes. There is the dead Kuma's corpse in the way. Fire off 1 salvo. Gonna try to get the back salvo off hoping to at least catch him unaware, but he has stopped firing, which is probably meaning that he's actually moving out, and we are proxy spotting him, and there he is. Now, if I was this Nicholas, I would not instantly try to go for torpedoes. That is what he's doing. That's why he's not firing. You can see how quickly a Nicholas actually took off a good 1,000, almost 2,000 right there. But we do take out the enemy Nicholas, and his torpedoes go sailing harmlessly by. So yeah, I'm not a big fan. Whenever you're in a destroyer, yes, torpedoes can be a quick deciding factor, but sometimes go with your guns, because especially when you're a Nicholas or a German or American destroyer, you could probably taken me out. But we do land a hit on the Texas. Unfortunately for us, do not cause flooding, but leaves him incredibly low on health, but he's able to get at least a repair up. And you can see the range whenever we are firing at this Texas, how lazy the shells are. They take quite a while just to reach it. Now, fortunately for us, a Texas isn't terribly hard to hit. It's a slow battleship, but he does go down to the friendly New York, so that is very nice. Now, our team has done a fantastic job. We've only lost 3 ships, 3 destroyers. The enemy team has lost the majority of their fleet. They've lost their carrier and majority of their cruisers and destroyers, and still hold on to at least 2 battleships. Now, we know there is a T-22 that is pushing towards our friendly CV. The friendly CV was actually torpedoed by the enemy Hosho, who is hiding somewhere. And I point out, like, hey, go focus on him. I tell the Wyoming, you need to help, because if we are to save our friendly CV, even a battleship can definitely put a hurt on a destroyer. So we're going to quickly try to go over there and try to assist. Now, it is a T-22, which is the tier 5 German destroyer. And honestly, I don't think highly of it, but you'll see when I talk about it here in a couple days. Open fire on this T-22, and you can see how lazy the shells are. The arcing on the shells are extremely lazy, so you actually do have to zoom out just to try to get a hit on a small, nimble little destroyer like this. He is burning. He is under constant fire. We do lose our friendly Vogue to the enemy Hosho, which is unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to be a game changer. I don't foresee the enemy team from winning, but we are now starting to actually land shells. He's sitting at 100 points of health, and the friendly Wyoming takes him out. Oh well. Oh well, that's all right. At least we don't have to worry about any pesky little destroyers. That was the last destroyer on the enemy team. And I don't, like I said, I don't foresee the enemy team coming back. But I mean, anything is possible, even though we have 4 battleships, a cruiser, and 2 destroyers. And we know that there are at least both the battleships are down to the west of us. There's the New York, the Hosho, and the Kaiser left on the enemy team. The Kaiser is being dropped by the friendly CV, and it's going to knock off a good portion of health. Now, going back to the German destroyers, these low tiers, like I said, are really fun to play, because you can pretty, I hate to say it, you can pretty much YOLO. I hate saying that word, but you can just rush in. You can rush battleships because they are slow. They're very bulky, and they don't really turn that well. And so you can do this, and I have done it many times, and it's fun. But when you get up to at least the tier 5, that's when it just starts to leave a sour taste. Now, maybe it's just the tier 5. Maybe it's like the Musuki or the Hatsuharu back when it was a Japanese destroyer with only torpedoes for armaments. Open fire at this. You can see how quickly you can turn getting those torpedoes off. Very quick, very easy to do. But the Hatsuharu, yeah, wasn't a very fun ship for me. And that's kind of how the German destroyers are. And this New York just took a massive hit, lost almost a huge chunk of his health, and is probably going to go down here in a few salvos. I do pop my smoke, but no need. The New York is dead, and all that's left on the enemy team is the Hosho. But as we are going to go try to find the carrier real quick, I'm really disappointed with how these German destroyers came out, because at first they seemed pretty fun. They seemed a new gimmick. They had the German armor piercing shells where you had very high damage, and that would be very devastating, especially against broadside cruisers or even battleships. I actually don't know how well it would do against battleships, but the enemy carrier is spotted, and we only have about 13 more points before we win, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into the victory screen. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 128,655 silver, 2,324 XP, and 117 free XP. We did 31,172 points of damage, 33 shell hits, 3 torpedo hits, 3 incapacitation, 2 kills, 1 fire, 2 flooding, and 1 assisted base capture. We did a base XP of 999, not the most highest as far as my base XP has gone, but not too bad. As far as damage done, we did around 13,000 against the Nicholas and around 9,000 against the Kuma. And most of our damage came from our torpedoes with a damage of 20,967. So pretty decent. Like I said, German destroyers kind of get the feeling I have to use my torpedoes more than I need to use my guns. So after everything was said and done, brought home 99,905 silver, which is not too bad. Not definitely the greatest, but going back to kind of how I feel about the German destroyers, at this moment, I don't play them very often. I have had the tier 5 forever. Just haven't felt the urge to play them. Haven't really liked them, but I'm gonna try pushing onward, especially for you guys to see kind of what you would expect for anyone that wants to pursue getting up to the tier 10 German destroyer. And maybe some of you guys already have, and maybe you guys offer some tips on how I should be playing it. Maybe I'm playing it wrong, but we'll see, and hopefully we'll go from there. So we're saying goodbye to the V-170. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jen.